can you define energy first of all? Like what is it?
Yeah, I remember when early last year we were working through Spark, and that was a book that you had recommended to me,
Yep.
and we had these great conversations around the power of physical movement and how physical movement can transform the way that the mind and the emotions, I might even say spirit, for those of you who are awake and aware that you have a spirit. All right. Um, so you've got the mind, the emotions, the spirit, and the body, and we're trying to we're trying to deal with output, right? Our ability to do work. There's a
Right.
lot of woo-woo definitions of energy, right? Like, Taylor, I love your energy, man. Or, I met this girl, she has the most amazing energy. Or, man, I didn't like the energy in that room or at that company or with those people. And it feels really nebulous and honestly just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But when we understand energy simply as just the capacity to do work, it's what is available for us to actually accomplish tasks and things that we have to get done.
Right.
And I think that simple, plain definition of energy is a really easy place for us to start to build an understanding around how we get work done, how we uh, put energy out, and how we renew our energy as well.
Right. Right. Totally agree. Okay. So energy defined is our capacity to do work. I like it. Simple. But then if it's simple, it's certainly not easy to conjure that elusive energy
No,
sometimes. At least if you're like me. I can
no.
go into the weekend and be like, okay, great. Super excited. I'm gonna get some rest. And then
Mhm.
Monday I'm gonna come rocking. And I get to Monday and I'm like,
Yep, not ready.
dude, what the
You got the
like,
you got the Sunday blues. You ever have the Sunday blues?
oh yeah, or the Sunday scaries. I do the
The
Headspace
Sundays.
meditation app.
Yep,
Yeah, they
Sunday
call it the
scaries.
Sunday scaries where you're just like, "Oh, crap." Another
Yep.
week, another, whatever. And it feels that way a little bit, personally, professionally, like it is challenging. So you mentioned like four different parts to our energy: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So let's I think in order to understand, well, let's unpack it two ways. A, can you quickly just give me a rundown, a little bit more in depth of what those are, and then B, how do those affect us in terms of our ability to get energy, our ability to do more
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, I love this question. I think, what I would ask our listeners to do is to imagine an upside down pyramid. Okay, like a funnel, like a
Yeah.
cone pointing downward. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and at the very bottom of that, we have go back to, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And we
Yeah.
have just survival. We're just trying to stay alive. And by the way, if you really want to get a deep understanding of this, I would suggest reading Tony Schwartz's books, The Powerful Engagement and The Way We're Working Isn't Working, because
Yeah.
and Spark as well, because I think a lot of our understanding of how we manage our energy comes from those resources. Um, Also, just listen to Huberman like every time he drops one. Just do that too, right?
You're
He's
still
not
trying to
the
get them
end
on the
all be all,
podcast.
right? But like, yeah, I still haven't gotten past the alcohol podcast. Never drink it again until next weekend. Neither
Yeah,
here nor there.
sure. Right.
So we've got survival, right, at the bottom of that pyramid.
Yeah.
And then we have our body, we have our physical energy, right? And what we're trying to achieve with physical energy is sustainability, right? What we want is like a quality and a vitality so that we're fit and we're healthy to go expound energy, right? To
Yeah.
to to actually use the capacity that we have. And so we know that, like, okay, I'm well cared for, and because I'm
Right.
well cared for, I can go perform. Um, after the physical aspect of things, we have the emotional aspect of things, right? Which deals with like our deep and sincere need for security. So, do we have a quality of connections to people on an emotional level? Are we feeling loved and appreciated? And are we able to express those emotions in a clear way?
Mhm.
Because I think, um, oftentimes, we can get the self right, or we can get the others part right, but to have both working in concert is becomes really difficult, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're physically exhausted. So far we've got survival, we've got physical, which is about sustainability. We've got emotions, which are about a sense of security. And next we have what most of us would go to immediately, which is our minds, right? When we're talking about energy, we're right. That's so much of what we think is like the ability to focus. And the mind is actually not just specificity of focus, but it's also duration of focus. Like what
Mm,
I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be able to get really tightly focused on one thing for a long period of time. Now that's relative. That may be 15 minutes, that may be 2 hours. It depends on the task at hand. But we want the energy that's available to do that. And then one thing further is each of us have unique desires that we want to apply that focus to. We have unique skill sets or passions. And so we have to have an awareness of what those are, which is
mm,
why when we talk about the mental energy that we need, we're actually talking about self-expression.
mm,
We're talking about the ability to go put my unique skills to work in the world for a specific long period of time.
yeah, yeah.
And then I'll give you one more, which is the spiritual one. So this would be at the top of the funnel, right? And again, this is where the idea of energy can get real weird. We live close to Sedona, think vortex, right? We're not like think
Or
crystals
Yetis. Yeah.
or Yetis. We're not headed in that direction here, although there's something to be discussed there. I'm not denying that. What we're trying to do is just keep it really, really simple, right?
Mm,
Something that we could scale into an organization, which is the idea of significance or purpose. And we talk about that
mm,
constantly on the Daily Leader, that we have to have clear values and a clear purpose. What we're after in life is a life that's full of meaning and intentionality.
mm,
And so we've got physical, emotional, mental, and then finally the top of that being spiritual. And that's all assuming that we've had our material needs met, right? That
yeah.
we're actually fed, clothed, and hydrated.
So are you saying that my exponentially will grow kind of exponentially as I move through that funnel? Is that kind of the
That's
idea
exactly
that
right.
like, okay,
Yep.
as my basic needs are met, so
And
A, am I
and
safe?
yep,
Oh, go
and
for it.
good personal and organizational hygiene is that I'm not so focused on one that I'm negligent of the others,
Talk about that. What do you
right?
mean?
Because my tendency, Taylor, is, I'm we've talked about this before. Like I love to work. I
Yeah.
love the feeling of productivity. I really, really want to get to the end of the day and kind of collapse on the living room floor with my wife and my kids and wrestle and play and read books and just it's all left on the table that day,
Yep.
right? And that's great. But the problem with that lifestyle is that it doesn't adequately respect like the renewal needs of each of these types of energy, right? Like
Mm,
you can't just put out for 12, 16 hours a day and expect the body, the emotions, the mind and the spirit to just be ready to turn on and run at full RPMs the next day. That it's just not
yeah.
enough. As
Yeah.
human beings, we need way more rest than we think we need, especially in modern society. And we have
Yeah.
to do that in a way that's honoring to the demands of these four types of energy, maybe not just to my favorite, not just the one that I like the most,
Mm,
right? So
that's good.
imagine, for example, being an athlete, but never taking the time to center on the spiritual aspects of your life,
Yeah.
right? Imagine being a business person, but never really taking care of the quality of your emotional connections,
Mm,
right? You're ultimately going to create some headwinds for yourself if you don't balance out how you renew your energy.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna run in one direction really hard and just kind of burn out.
And
That
I think too, I'm really curious how you feel about this. Like there are different ways that we might go about trying to renew our energy. And
yeah.
and I think that there are some that are better than others.
Sure.
So I'm curious, like how like what's been
No,
your journey? What's been your journey trying to get more energy out of life?
man, it's yeah, I mean, all this is super fascinating to me. I think that it is the tension between rest and energy is an interesting concept because especially in America we live in a go 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 society, and I think even when we're resting it may not be restful. Like even
Mhm.
when we are taking time away from our profession, the play that we're doing, I'm gonna stick with my pastoral side and go with all of my acronyms. But the play is not necessarily always giving back, or the time off is not giving back to that tank, right? So we talk about, if you looked at it in terms of healthy things that energize us, right? And then lower things that kind of like take away. So healthy ideas are, eating well, playing, laughing, taking breaks, getting enough sleep, doing all those kind of things. A lot of times my restful time is spent doing the things that actually pull me away, that are lower octane stuff, right? So
Yeah.
it's alcohol, going out for drinks with friends, overeating because I hit the weekend and I'm like, heck yeah, I'm gonna have 3 In-N-Out burgers.
Cheese ball.
Television, yeah, yeah. I just want to veg out. Have an extra 2 or 3 cups of coffee. I'm gonna have that sugar. I'm gonna like we do the things
Mhm.
that actually don't give us energy to keep going
Yep.
often. And I'm sure this may not be everybody, it's just my experience. Oftentimes I'm like, okay, great, well now I'm going to rest. And then I don't even think most of those things are bad things in themselves, right? But
Mhm.
most things taken to excess become things that actually are withdrawing rather than giving back to us. So we get back to Monday, right? And our basic needs are not met, let alone our hygiene of how is our mental side and our spiritual side and all those other things going.
Yep.
So
Totally
oftentimes
agree.
I think that like the pyramid is super fascinating because as you right go up or down on the pyramid depending on which way it is. Okay, we're all most of us live in America. Our basic needs are met,
Oh,
and
yeah.
most places around the world in 2025, like your basic needs, right, are met. So then we're talking emotional and safety, and are
Mhm.
we getting enough physical rest? Again, oftentimes, yes, we're going to sleep in, maybe even get too much, which you can look into a lot of data on sleep, and go,
That's right.
okay, I can probably get too much sleep or too little sleep.